tonight we are going to have Starburst Gummy Duos, 2 flavors in one. It says the flavors that we have tonight are cherry lemonade, double berry, and orange green apple. Now, let's get into this discussion about WWE basics. Let's start off with how basics used to look in terms of their style and in terms of their articulation. Now, this is how they looked in Wave 1. So first I'm going to pop in a Gummy Duo, and then we will get started talking. Okay. So we got Batista, right? This Batista is from Wave 1, and we can tell that this is back when Mattel put in a huge effort with their basics, because even his tattoos have color, and his gear is accurate, very accurate. In addition to this, his articulation is great, and I miss these arms. These arms that basics used to have. Man, these are beautiful. Remember when they had articulation like this? Like even the detailing on the figure was perfect. Even his feet. We actually had foot rotation, and not rotation, but we had articulation in the boot way back when. This is Wave 1. Like, this was like the very first, well, one of the very first basic figures, along with a Triple H that I can't find. So keep in mind, Wave 1. One more look at it. They got so much better with the knee pads, I will say that though, because these knee pads were rough. But look, we used to get details on the elbow pads. Not gonna see that anymore. Now let's look at Seth Rollins, one of his first basics. Not one of his very first, but you know, one of his first ones. Look at this articulation, man. Look at that. Beautiful. Detailing could use some work, but look. Foot bend. And then let's look at one of his most recent ones. I think it's from last year. Don't mind the head. I did a head swap on an Elite. Look at this. This articulation. I hate this so much. Because it's unnatural. Articulation. Piss poor. Really piss poor. I just like, I'm dumbfounded that like Basics now I have like dollar store figures, Articulation. Like look at the boot. This is a prime example. This is a disgrace. Why is there no foot? Why is there no foot Articulation? How are you gonna sell this? Legitimately. For $10. I don't get it. Like, how is it that elites can get better in terms of like face scan and stuff like that, and new Articulation, but Basics got so much worse comparative to like this John Cena. This is a John Cena from 2013, I think. Yeah, 2013. Like, look at that. He has a pivot in his leg, which I know a lot of people hate it because it swivels and sometimes it could get really, really loose. That's another problem with how Basics are made. But at least he had the great arm Articulation compared to this. Just, it looks ugly too. Like, that's just ugly. Like, even the look of the figure, like the arms and stuff like that, it just looks awkward. Especially in the back, because then other arms do like this. And it's like hard to tell which way is straight, which way is back. You know what I mean? And it like bends like that, like, what is that? I don't understand how something like this can be sold for $10. That's just disgraceful, because how is it that Wave 1 was better than Wave like 100 and something? That's crazy. That's crazy to think. Like, look, this right here. Sorry. This is the most recent Kyle O'Reilly Basic. Look at that. I'll give him credit for the knee pads, but why? I hate that this. I hate that this isn't removable. Even on the elites, it's not removable. I don't get why Adam Cole's were removable, but why is Kyle O'Reilly's not? That's just stupid. That's dumb. I don't know. I mostly got it because I'm a fan of the gear. But that's another thing. I hate that we get the gear that we want in Basics instead of elites. That really irks me. Like Seth Rollins, when he had the Game of Thrones gear. I forgot where I have that figure, but that figure is great. But as an elite, it would be so much better. Even his Avengers Endgame gear that he wore, and they made a figure of. such a wasted opportunity to get as an elite. But we for sure could get like 6 Romans in the exact same gear. We'll change a gauntlet. I don't know. And the worst part about it is we're finally getting the Adam Cole in his gear. But he's an elite, and all the rest of the Undisputed Era like this are basics. And that new Bobby Fish, did anyone see that? With the molded shirt. It's not even molded, it's painted. It looks ugly. That's ridiculous that they're selling that for. It's mostly the price. That's really what gets me. If you're gonna sell something like this with very limited articulation, it should be no more than $7, maybe even $5. Actually, you know what? Let me go find a prime example of why basics should not be $10. I'll be right back. I couldn't find it, but I did find an old Jax figure. Shout out to Jack Specific, guys, for sticking with one style all the way through. Their Ruthless Aggression wave. Don't mind this. This is from when I was a kid. But still. Compare Jack's articulation on their figures to this. To this weird articulation. Some may think that I'm nitpicking, but honestly, like, what is this? Like, I wouldn't be complaining so much if they didn't have a starting point like this. If you didn't have something like this. If you went from, let's say you started like this, with articulation like this, and like this. But then you went to this, with arm articulation like this. You know, the new Hulk Hogan figure that's coming out. The basic WrestleMania wave. That has the old articulation. Now why? If you had that articulation. Now why? If you had that articulation like this, would you regress? Got something like this. That's pitiful. That just doesn't make sense. And back to gears. That's stuff that we don't want. That they make because they're like, oh yeah, maybe someone's gonna want this. Why do we have a Shorty G? One of the worst gimmicks for Chad Gable. But this head sculpt is great. It's too bad it's not on an elite. When was the last time Chad Gable had an elite? Honestly, does someone know? Because I don't remember. I think the last time he had an elite was with Jason Jordan. He's like one of your top stars. You feature him every single week. And he doesn't have an elite. But he gets a basic of one of the worst times he's been in the ring. Like one of his worst gimmicks. Pitiful. basic of Chad Gable. It should have been in, like, his gear like this. Like that. Not this. I'm telling you right now, this figure was a huge, huge shelf warmer for a very long time. And I only bought it because I plan to do a head swap someday. But yeah. Even Jeff Hardy basics are the worst. I sold my last one, but they gave him such great face paint. But the articulation can't save it. It really is a shame. Like, if I had a kid, I've said this in my last video, if I had a kid and I had to get him something for his birthday, I 100% would get him an Elite. I would never ever buy a kid a basic. I just wouldn't. It'd be shameful. It'd be sad. Like, they probably, honestly, they probably break really easily too. For sure. That the boots definitely. 100% I could see them. They're such a cheaper plastic than when they were originally. Like this. Like, this is a stronger plastic. How could you regress instead of progress? That doesn't make sense. From a business standpoint, that doesn't make any sense. Like, back to talking about Jax. The great thing about Jax figures is Jax figures, you could have put them next to your deluxe aggression figures. Your ruthless aggression figures could have gone to your deluxe aggression figures. And it'd be very, very minor differences. Well, I mean, there is some big differences, but it was never enough that you were like, yeah, I totally could tell which one's cheaper. Like, I think that was the thing about them, is that Jax actually cared about the lines they were putting out, and oh my god, they put out so many figures that were just amazing. I think the biggest problem is that, like, going back to this figure, when they put out this figure of Chad Gable, he had already quit this gimmick. He already was done with it. He was back to the American Alpha type Chad Gable, or the Alpha Academy Chad Gable. I don't get why it took them so long to make the figure that nobody wanted, but I would have just stopped it and just said, hey, wait, no, he looks better like this, and, you know, for sure this is going to be something somebody wants. It's just majorly a disgrace. Like, don't get me wrong, I will buy them, but it's only because they come in the gear that I wanted figures to come in. We will 100% never get a Kyle O'Reilly in this gear. But guaranteed, I'm gonna make a prediction. We will get Roman in this gear 6 times in 2022. 100%. 100%. I'm gonna guarantee it. 6 times we'll get it in this gear. And the gauntlet, you'll get 3 of the gold gauntlet, and then 3 of the red gauntlet. And Kyle O'Reilly, you'll get none. We waste space, honestly. Mattel really wastes space on shelves by just mass producing figures we already have instead of figures we actually want. Like, I also don't understand why you can't go back to the original basic articulation. Like, you obviously have the parts if you're releasing a new Hulk Hogan like that. And someone could say, oh, but maybe it was a Hulk Hogan they hadn't released, or whatever, but that's no excuse. You definitely had to recreate all of the molds and stuff like that. What was so wrong with this mold? Seriously. If I was a kid, and you had to pick between this articulation and something like this, you'd 100% go for that. No doubt. But anyway, guys, I think I'm done talking about this because I think I've said all I had to say. New basics are such a downgrade from the originals. Anybody will tell you that. I remember MTT, he even made videos talking about like when they started making the crappy designs for basics. Like the end of the good era of basics. It's just a shame. Obviously fans are clamoring for the original style because I remember one of the important executives or something like that for Mattel, someone asked him in an Instagram live, will basics ever return to the original form? And he said, straight up, no. I don't know. Every time I go to the store, all I see are basics. Very few elites. And that has a lot to say with your product. It really does. Anyway, guys, that's gonna do it for me. My next video will be on two presents that my friend Richard gave me for my birthday, late birthday or / early Christmas presents, and yeah, those are gonna be 2 mystery videos like we used to do, and yeah, I think you guys will like them. But with that being said, please like, comment, and subscribe. And this is Blitz saying